Geeks and Grounds, a monthly game club and weekly podcast where we play games and brew good conversation together. I'm your host, Jenny Wyndham.
And I'm Joel Thomas.
But I've got butterflies in my stomach, Joel.
Oh, I've had so much
butterflies.
delicious soup, just, getting after it.
Round two,
all the soups. I thought mushroom was my favorite. I've decided no, butterfly is in fact my favorite soup, and I'm owning that for the rest of my life. Put it on my grave.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. I'll get the epitaph ready.
Thank you.
Butterfly soup was Joel's favorite.
I don't. Listeners may or may not know this, but part of the Geeks and Grounds agreement is that we are responsible for each other's tombstones, and that's so.
Yeah, everything else goes to family and other friends, but this is the one responsibility.
It's the one thing. Butterfly soup, favorite soup. Please put that on there. I appreciate it.
Yep. Got my, here, let me get my notebook. Yep, writing it down. How are you doing this week, Joel?
So good. Man, there was some really fun stuff in the showcases. I super appreciate you directing us to that over the last week. I cannot wait to talk about all the stuff happening in games right now.
Yes, I went into the showcase season feeling a little bit fatigued, but I will say I'm quite inspired by, I wrote down a lot of games. I wish listed a lot of games. I downloaded folks who were on stream on Saturday, I think it was. I had 50 plus demos on my computer. Storage was looking real scary for a second, but I've been playing a bunch to try and get ahead of my travel, since I'm going to be traveling the week of Steam Next Fest, which is just so sad. What a curse. But I've got stuff loaded on my laptop. I played some stuff, so I'm ready to talk about that next week. But yeah, this week we got a lot of games to hype up from Summer Game Fest. For folks who are new to the podcast, or if you need a little refresher, every month we play typically one game together and discuss it as a community. This month we're changing it up. It's summertime. We've got a lot to do, so we thought, why not play 4 short games this month and just break it up, and that way we can kind of go in and out and just get little bite-sized appetizer kind of games that are feel good, make us think still, but don't take up too much time, so we can enjoy things like all of these demos.
Very fun moment when it's we're gonna just play this one shot 2 to 3 hour long game, and then you're like, I'm sure our conversation is gonna be really short, and you're like, we're 2 hours in and we're like, I could talk about this game for another hour easily.
Every time. I feel like every time I say it, it just jinxes us so bad. But I mean, that's a credit to the developers who, in these short, compact amount of the time and experience that they have with you, they give you so much. And we could have, last week with Butterfly Soup 1, we could have talked longer. We could have talked more. And if you want to talk with us about the games and talk with the rest of the community, hyping up the end of the month hangout. This month it is on June 28th in the Discord. Make sure you just give yourself the Geeks and Grounds role and you will see the event. You can sign up for that notification. But we'll be able to talk more about all of these games at the end of the month as well. Before we go into this week's selection, which was Butterfly Soup 2, let's stop by the pastry case. The pastry case is our grab bag of news, things we were into this week, stuff from the industry, all of that. And right now is just Summer Game Fest time.
Showcase on showcase on showcase.
Yes, it really was a lot of showcases the past 3 days.
I mean, I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised by how little overlap there was. It felt like, for the most part, each showcase really had its thing, and that was its thing. And I didn't feel like I was seeing the same Resident Evil trailer in multiple, showcases, for example. Yeah.
Well, I can speak a little behind the scenes for folks who are, especially with the indie showcases. So all of the indie showcases, we actually have a Discord together. We all communicate with one another.
What?
And so especially because we knew that having this many showcases in such a short period of time would be really detrimental if we all overlapped time-wise, if we had same time blocks and if we had the same games. There is a little bit of, hey, just wanted to put some feelers out there. And we try to communicate when we think there may be an overlap or we think there may be something happening where, this may not be good for the audience, And so we try to do that because it ends up ultimately being more fair to you all who watch it, to the developers. and it just makes for a better showcase day. So yeah, it's something we actually asked the developers too on most of the forums to submit for a showcase. I'm pretty sure on most of them, there's actually a question that says, are you submitting to other showcases? If so, which ones? And if you are, like, what are you planning to show or hoping to show at each one? So at least if they are in multiple, there's no like the same trailer 3 times in a row.
Yeah. Well, yet again, we see that this true spirit of humanhood is collaboration and cooperation, and not necessarily competition.
Yep. Surprise.
Turns out, when we build things together, we build things that last.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And yeah, and I don't know, maybe this is a little bit abrupt, but I did want to like shout out what's going on in LA right now, because for me at least, there was a little bit of whiplash going from like video game showcases to going online and checking the feed and seeing the stuff that's happening with ICE and, you know, the police in LA on the ground, essentially kidnapping people and then agitating people who are just trying to like live their lives and protect fellow citizens in the city. So just wanted to say to everyone in LA, please be safe, but also like you're all being real badasses for going out and doing what you're doing. So
and thank you. I mean, it's definitely like when I think about the example that's being set there for what it looks like to resist this like real truly fascist experience that we are having here in the country right now, like that bravery is really inspiring. I really appreciate the reporting that we're getting coming out of there. It feels, it does remind me of 2020 and like seeing like on the ground, like you have the real story. And then when it's one of those things where like you pull the curtain back and see how a lot of like the mainstream media sites are reporting on this stuff. And it's like, it's just, it's night and day different. And it really helps you understand how important it is to see like the real people that are doing this work on the ground.
Yep. So I know that this is something also on a lot of community members' minds. So know that we're also thinking about it. And, you know, what's hard is I think it's a little bit challenging because when you're not in that area, if we're not in LA, not in New York, which is also doing some really good resistance work right now, like it can be hard because it can feel very helpless, but know that like there is a community of people. And my go-to honestly is reaching out to community members in your area, mutual aid groups in your area, and like start fortifying your communities there. Because we know that this is probably going to get harder before it gets better. And we need local communities. So
that's right.
Yeah. Let's hop into some of your favorite announcements from Summer Game Fest.
I gotta say, y'all, I think I'm hitting my limit on Souls likes that are dark and broody. There were so many. So many. So I'm probably going to avoid talking about a lot of those. And I'm just going to kind of list off some of the things that I like saw that looked very fresh. There were some things that visually when I saw them, I was like, oh my goodness, like my jaw kind of dropped. And so I want to just highlight some things that really stood out to me. I'm just going to list these off kind of rapid order here. So Atomic Heart 2, I did not play Atomic Heart 1, but the look and feel of this game felt fresh while still having some of that like old school, old timey vibe. I thought Resident Evil 9 Requiem did look very cool and different and interesting from a lot of like other Resident Evil properties. Wu-Tang Rise of the Deceiver looks so rad, like a very fun like urban setting, like you're in the city but you're also doing this like martial arts stuff. Very cool. Sword of the Seas, Neverway, Crescent County, Gecko Gods, Cyber Paradise. Shout out to Hart and all the folks that were big fans of our Hyperlight Drifter experiences. And then I gotta say, like the 2 games that I saw that were like jaw dropping for me, and I have no idea how to say this first one. Ambroise Niflet?
Close. I think it's maybe actually I should know this because I was the one who helped write the script for it in the direct, but Ambrose Niflet, I think.
And the Gleamed Bell. Stunning, like stop motion look and feel.
Right?
Jaw dropping.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I don't have favorites, but it is up there as a standout for me in this year's Direct.
Man.
I personally just love the look of it so much.
Ugh. And then felt that boxing, this kind of like puppet looking game, like Jim Henson style puppet looking, like Mike Tyson's Punch Out looking game. I thought that looked absolutely stunning. So I will say, a couple sources. So I did check out Game Fest. I did check out Day of the Devs, Devolver Digital, and Wholesome. And then I also went through Frosty to look at some of these games. So
nice.
Those are the big ones that I got to experience. And those are some of my games to look out for from those.
Heck yeah. Yeah, lots of crossover. Like for me, Neverway is probably one of my most anticipated games right now. It just looks so beautiful. Like in terms of that, this is what I remember like Game Boy games looking like, but more it's more beautiful and more like polished, but it's that nostalgia memory, you know, and it captures that so beautifully. And the fact that it's horror meets life sim meets action is just so choice. Such a great blend of genres. Just to shout out a few that really caught my eye. Big Walk from the Day of the Devs. I don't know if you saw that trailer. That just looks so whimsical, and honestly, if you get the right group of friends to play it, just so weird and fun. Like I can imagine just having the best time with friends in that game. Yeah, that one just is great. From Latin American, I'm trying to pick just maybe like one from each just to try and shout most of them out. Best Latin American game. Oh gosh, it's so tough. There was one called Colorbound where it actually came from a game jam, which I think is great. And they actually, from that game jam that Lags hosted, found a publisher. And so now we're working to like get it published, which is awesome. Colorbound is where you use color, manipulate it, and that helps you solve puzzles and manipulate the environment, which is such a fun premise. From Southeast Asian games, there's a game called Mirth Island that's very cute. You look like this little duck, and apparently you've gone to the city to try and make your life in theater and acting, but you have failed, and so you're returning home. And in your return home and trying to find purpose, you're restoring the community theater there. And I think that's such a great story.
What a great premise!
Like so cute, and the trailer was so cute. Okay, wait. From the Frosty showcase, do you remember Winnie's Hole?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
If you were okay, because I think if you had seen the trailer for it when you were perusing, you would not forget it.
I did not watch the trailer for this one. I did see the cover art. Okay, I'm kind of scanning through it now. So tell us about it.
So Winnie's Hole seems like it's a legally distinct Winnie the Pooh, or maybe just the copyright has gone.
Yes,
like expired. So this looks like Winnie the Pooh, but you play a virus mutating in his belly, and the more you are successfully mutating, the more body horror Winnie gets.
Oh my god.
And basically it's you as Winnie, not the Pooh, Winnie, just distinct, walking through the forest, encountering fellow forest creatures, and then you as the virus like have to do stuff to eat them and continue on the walk, and you get continuously bigger and more monstrous. But I think the game is trying to play with the idea of like, but what are you calling a monster? What if you don't want to be a monster? I don't know. I think there's some good stuff perhaps deep in the story, but it's also just body horror, weird, funny game.
I don't remember what it was called, but there was another like the copyright has expired on a thing. It was like a Mickey Mouse thing. It looked like
like
old
the
school Disney.
Willie, yeah. Oh man, now I wish I could remember.
Now's the time. Get your IP.
Do it. Make Papa Disney angry, please.
We love it. Yes.
And then from women-led games, there are a couple that I really loved. I want to shout out Downfall, which is a RPG where the protagonist knows that you exist. And so there is tension between what the character wants to do. Occasionally there's tension between what the character wants and what you want and the path you take to get there. I love games like that. Break the fourth wall. Just like smash it with a hammer. This is so good. So Yeah, really amazing showcases today. I think I accidentally put 9 p.m. 9 a.m. today was the Mix showcase, Black Voices in Gaming. I haven't had a chance to watch it because my internet's been out for most of the day, but I'm hoping to watch it on the plane. And yeah, I'm so excited to just dig into now the demos this week from most of these showcases.
Very, very fun.
Yeah.
There was another thing that got announced that like I'm just curious to hear your take on, and that is the Xbox handheld system.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I was immediately skeptical and frustrated, and then I was like, damn it, this does look like they've done some good things here.
Yeah, I'm okay because I did not look too far into it because admittedly when I saw that they announced it, I was immediately like, I don't really care. I guess from the sense of I have the consoles I want, I have access to the games that I want. Anything that's coming out on Xbox is likely coming out on PC, and I have a Steam Deck, so
I agree. And I think because I have a Steam Deck and I love my Steam Deck, I don't think I would buy it at this point. But like, let's say it's years down the road, like would I consider switching? Maybe. And the reason is because like, as much as I love the playing experience of my Steam Deck, I do not love the UI for navigating it. I don't think it's very intuitive. And as I looked at and they kind of showed in the demo, like what they've pulled out of the normal Xbox experience and what they've added in here. And I was like, this makes more sense to my brain than the current Steam Deck UI does. So maybe it'll be a good excuse for Steam to like really invest there a little bit, because now there's like some real competition. But I don't know. That was kind of like I was pretty immediately put off, and then as soon as I started watching it, I was like,
they gotcha. They gotcha.
They're getting me. They're getting me.
I'll have to check it out because, admittedly, I did not, with everything else going on, I saw the news and I was like, yeah, I'm not the audience for it. Like, but yeah, I'll take a look. And honestly, anything that could push Steam to help improve their UI and their interface would be great. Because it's not fabulous. You can tell and it feels like programmers were the ones who created the foundation for it, and it's improved over the years, but that foundation is still there.
Yep. Fully agree with that. I also like am still struggling with my Switch 2 decision. Like can't decide if I'm gonna
some FOMO?
I was like, I had really solidified within myself. I got to a point of oneness in the universe, and I was like, I don't need a Switch 2.
Yeah.
Damn it, y'all. TikTok is showing me videos of Mario Kart, and it just looks so fun. And I just like, I don't even have anyone to play it with right now. And yet it looks so fun. So struggling. That's struggling.
Tough. Yeah, because I know you are much more a Mario Kart person than I am too. So like you are the audience for this launch. That is true.
It is true, and also it's like I haven't bought a Nintendo property that I have been like thrilled with since I don't know, maybe Animal Crossing, like
maybe Zelda.
Well, I mean, like Breath of the Wild, yes. Tears of the Kingdom, not so much. Like it was great, but like not like amazing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't dump 200 hours into Zelda. I dumped 200 hours into Animal Crossing, like it's just, it's been a while since I've had that. It's like a, what have you done for me lately kind of thing. So I don't know. Maybe that's not a fair
I feel like that's a fair perspective. I mean, I think that's what I'm hearing from a fair amount of people. And I'm feeling it myself where, just to be totally honest, I am feasting over here in Steam Deck PC land, and it makes it, when money is tighter, time is tighter, like it makes it hard to justify a $400+ console and game when I'm barely getting. I haven't gotten into Expedition 33 in a minute because I've been so busy. I started Deltarune, but I was so tired I fell asleep. Like there's so much I'm trying to get through. It feels bad to like do that on top of the fact that for me, I'm with you, Nintendo. I will pick it up for an Animal Crossing. Maybe a Zelda, depending on what kind of Zelda they bring.
Give me a Fire Emblem. Like
A Fire Emblem
there
would
have
be
been
cool,
some
but
great games on Switch for sure, but like it's been a minute, and so like it's maybe I can like optimistically say, because a lot of these franchises haven't had super stellar launches in a while, that like a lot of good things are coming soon.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to justify making the expense for just Mario Kart right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially because Mario Kart is such a community-based game. And like you said, if you don't have friends who already have it and are playing it with you, then that also, you're not going to get the full fun out of it, it seems like.
Yeah, I think you've hit it exactly.
Well, I would love to. I think there are a couple folks in the Discord who've mentioned they've picked up the Switch too. We'll have to see. I'd love to know what people are feeling as they have it.
I want to hear about it.
I've heard a range of experiences. Some people are really, really loving it. There was one article that I read. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting who wrote it. But it was this guy. He writes basically about being a parent and a games journalist, and a lot of his articles are for parents who are gamers who have kids who are bringing into the hobby. And he talks about how, you know, he thought he was doing this really cool dad thing. He bought a Switch 2, he bought Mario Kart and the driving wheels, and he had his daughters playing it before they were going to school or before they were going to do the thing they were supposed to do later that day. And the excitement quickly turned into frustration and sadness, especially with these little kids, right? I think they're like 5, 6, around that age, because the open world component of Mario Kart wasn't truly open world multiplayer. I think you're supposed to drive alone around in the open world, and then in the races, that's when you meet up with your friends. And that was something that the kids and him kind of misunderstood a little bit. So he was like, we had highs and lows in the house this morning.
Absolutely fair. Fair. Oh, you know, this might be a good transition to talk about what we've been getting into this last week, because I got, did I tell you about the delicious text I got from my brother about what my nephew is getting into?
No.
My brother is getting my now 6-year-old nephew into Dragon Ball Z Kai.
Oh my gosh.
Over the course of a week, they made it all the way up into the Namek saga. I am like getting these text updates and just like eating them like candy. It's so fun for me. And I was like asking him his favorite characters. I gotta know. He's like, it's Goku, bro. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, he's 6, so that checks out.
Yeah, my brother was like, he's 6. His favorite character is going to be the main character. And I was like, yeah, fine, but let me know when he comes around to Gohan. And yeah, other than that, little like I'm not engaging with that, but it's something I'm very excited about. The only real thing I've been trying out this week is the new Jon Bellion album.
Yeah,
gonna be honest, not really scratching the itch for me, which is a bummer, because I've been watching a lot of interviews with him, and he's like, they're basically going through a lot of the songs he's written and produced over the last 6 years since his last album. And it's like banger after banger, like Ghost for Justin Bieber and Holy, and Jungkook's 7 Days, like big, awesome songs. And I was just like, wait, but where are these like joyful, like catchy tunes that I've been hearing from these other artists that you wrote? Where are they on your album? And it's just not
interesting.
It's not connecting for me. So I don't know, a little bit of a bummer there. What have you been getting into?
I mean, with the direct and everything, it's just been a lot of work, but I have been trying to get into some demos early for the Steam Next Fest. I won't go super in depth on them. I'll wait for next week, but just to shout out a few that I've enjoyed. Downfall, the RPG I was talking about earlier, Oneway.exe, a horror game that's like a love letter to horror games, which is, I have mixed feelings about the phrase, but it truly is like you go through every genre through this game. Tiny Bookshop, where you are running a tiny traveling bookshop, very cute, very cozy. Off, which I had no idea existed until I went to PAX East, and then I learned this little game is the inspiration for games like Undertale, Deltarune, Omori.
What?
One shot.
What?
All of my favorite games. Well, I've never played Omori, but from what I hear, I probably love it. But all of these pixel art, quirky RPGs that I love, off is the inspiration for, a big inspiration from. So, yeah, the demo is out. Apparently, it never got a real release. Like, it was online and in 2008, something like that. And so now Fangamer, I think, is the one who picked it up, and they're giving it an official full release. They're doing physical copies. I already pre-ordered mine because I was like, this is kind of the DNA of everything that I love. So I need to just have a copy.
I'm watching it right now. Like,
yeah,
I absolutely see it, and yet it is still so visually distinct and its own thing. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. I've never heard of this.
Me neither. So I played the first half of the demo. I'm going to be finishing it, hopefully, like, in all this time I have before I go to the airport, I'm going to be finishing the demo. We'll see. But yeah, you play yourself, like in the game, you're playing yourself, controlling a baseball player who is set out to purify the world. Weird. I love it. It's so good.
We love this.
And really just getting into Magic, Final Fantasy collab that launched last Friday or Thursday, I think, because I got the text from the local game shop. He was like, your cards are in, your booster packs are here. And I was like, you know what? We should just go get it right now. And we were in the shop maybe 20 minutes after he texted me, and he was like, that was fast. Like, yeah, you know.
Do you have a favorite at this point?
Well, funny you should ask. Let me see. I have a good chunk of them here. So I think I don't know about the playability of these cards, but for folks who are watching on video, I'll try and hold all three of them up. So we've got Triple Triad, which is from Final Fantasy VIII, Ultimecia, also from Final Fantasy VIII, and then Memories Reclaimed, Memories Returning, which is also from Final Fantasy VIII. It is so blurry, but hopefully it's just beautiful. Like, this art.
That art is awesome.
So yeah, I have my goal is I will actually play with these decks eventually, but I just want to collect pretty cards, and I've decided I do like the borderless cards. I know that they're actually more desirable usually, because of the borders, you get more art or whatever, but I want to get more borderless cards. And then in these booster packs, sometimes you get like an art card, which is just a card that has pretty art on it, and I want to collect those because those are really cool too. So.
I would love to see the Jenny collage of all of these, like finding a way for you to like art. For those of you who only listen to the podcast and can't see the background that Jenny's rocking, it's like you find such creative ways to display the cool things, knickknacks, kit gear, things that you pick up along the way. I cannot wait to see what you do with these cards that are more visually oriented and less playing oriented.
Yeah, I don't know. I know for sure at least I'm going to have a binder and maybe have like a shelf where I can like open up the binder, just display the cards that are like my faves at the time. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited. They're so pretty. It's just like a little flash of joy goes through me when I open up a pack and I see a card and I can place it in the game. Like it feels really cool. And I think that's like the special joy I get out of this pack. Cause I did Bloomburrow and that was fun. But for me, it was hard not hard, but the art wasn't connected to something that I directly had experience with. So I was just like, this is really pretty art. But when I open a pack and I see, Triple Triad, and I'm like, oh my God, I spent probably 50% of my time playing Final Fantasy VIII in Triple Triad, the card game of Final Fantasy VIII. Like, how cool is that? And so it's just really fun to have these memories associated with most of the cards. And it's convinced me to re-up my quest for the Finalist Fantasy, my quest to do all of the Final Fantasy games. So
the Finalist Fantasy,
that's what I call it in my head, is the Finalist Fantasy is me completing all mainline Final Fantasy
What's
games.
left?
A good chunk of them.
Really?
Basically 1 through 6. I haven't played any of the earlier ones. And then I would love to replay 12 because I only played it the one time. Replay 13 because it's been a minute. So I think I'm just gonna go through all.
I was gonna say I'm remembering now our conversations historically about 15 and 16. So you might have a few thousand hours of gaming in front of you.
It's give or take. Details. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Love it. I will say, we talk about this a lot, but I was watching people getting interviewed at the various, I think this one was at the Game Fest, and they were asking for like hot takes. And there's a person who was talking about like games are just too long. Like I love the idea of Final Fantasy VII, and I even tried to play, and I'm just an adult with needs, and I don't have a lot of time. And it's like, if there were ever like, bring back to Dragon Ball Z, if there were ever a series in need of the like Dragon Ball Z Kai treatment, it is Final Fantasy. Like, give me the 30-hour version of each of these games. I will give you I will pay double. I will pay double to have to play half the
time. Like, I feel like, well, and one of the things, I think Final Fantasy IX did this, and I don't know if any of the others did, but 9 had a recently like updated version that came out when it came on the Switch, where you can actually skip the battles, and it makes it so you don't have to do the grind, and so you can go through and basically have it be like a story mode instead of having to like level up and do it. So that for me, like having that option in any RPG that is over 20 to 30 hours long, I think is crucial. Because it's like sometimes you do want to go in and do the grind, but sometimes you don't. And sometimes you have life. Like as an adult, you have things to do. So, yeah.
Well, so I think back about like the conversations I've had with you about Final Fantasy over the years. It's like 80% of it is the story and the characters, and maybe 20% is about like how cool the fighting and action and like things were outside of the cutscenes. Like it just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, exactly. So I would love for more condensed RPGs. I do love a good long RPG, but I don't know. For me, I only have the capacity for maybe one 60 to 70 hour game a year.
I'm right there with you. Yes.
Yeah. So if it's only one, like I've gotten lucky in Final Fantasy VII, like every year it's launched, that's kind of been the game, but you only get one, so
everybody gets one.
Square Enix, this is for you. Everyone only gets one, so be careful. Watch out.
Watch your back, Square Enix. Geeks and Grounds is coming for you.
Check your play times.
Yeah.
No, I love Final Fantasy too much. They could probably do most anything. They could release a game that was 120 hours, and I'd be like, okay. Fine. Actually, Final Fantasy Online is basically that.
True.
So
true. Yeah.
Never mind. They've done it already.
It's happened.
And yeah, just the last thing, the earworm that has been on repeat for me the last week is a song called Hands Up by a K-pop. Let me double check that I got the artist right. It's like Meow V or Meow. I don't know how to say it.
Meow V, Meow. Bless you, bless you, bless you.
Yeah, it's like meow, but with 2 V's instead of a W. So I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to say it, but there's a song that they have called Hands Up, and it's such a it's just a very feel good, bubbly jam where if I'm getting ready in the morning and trying to amp myself up, I put that song on. So it's just a nice
we getting song. Like a song of the summer vibes from this, like something that can carry you through the hot months.
I feel like I'm still on the gnarly train for Song of the Summer. I know it's such a divisive one, but it is. I cannot get gnarly out of my head. So I'm still listening to gnarly.
Okay.
But Hands Up is in the rotation now, which, but I also do tend to hyperfixate on song, like a singular song or album for a very long time. So I feel like gnarly will probably be there for a while.
Love it. Perfect.
Me looking back at my Bo Burnham phase when, no, my God. I think the number of time, in consecutive years, I had Bo Burnham in my number one spot on Spotify's end of the year thing. And I got to a point, the first year, I thought that was fine. It was 2020, we were all going through it. We all listened to Bo Burnham a lot.
Over and over.
2021 happened again. I was like, this might be a problem. I might need to stop listening to this album. Third year in a row, I decided I should ban myself from Bo Burnham for a little bit because it probably meant something. I'm like, I need to listen to something else. So,
interesting. Yeah, makes sense.
It's a classic. But yeah, I think that is it for the pastry case. Notable releases this week. We always like to try to highlight a couple, literally just 2 every week, just to not overwhelm you, but keep you in the loop with what's coming out. The first highlight we'd like to shout is The Alters. This is a sci-fi base building game where you are trying to outrun the sun while you wait for rescue on a dangerous planet. The trick, because you cannot run the spaceship by yourself, you have to create alters, which are alternative versions of you based on different choices that you could have made in the past.
Whoa.
So really fun.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah. It was like almost kind of like a severance moment, except instead of severing yourself from your work-life balance, you're severing your experiences into alternative realities almost. I don't know. It's something about the body and labor mixed in there. It's just, I feel like if you like Severance, this may be tonally something you're interested in.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it looks very good. It's 11-bit studios. They always have very, I think, dark games, but lots of good stuff to think about when you play. And on a very different tonal note, we have Cast and Chill coming out on June 16th. This is one that was featured in the Frosty Games Showcase, so shout out to that. And this is a fishing game. That's all you do. You just chill and you fish. And I will say it's probably the most relaxing game I have ever played because you just sit and you have nature sounds and you fish and you go back and you go to another place and you fish again. It's very calming.
Okay, Jenny, but on a scale of Big the Cat and Sonic Adventure through Dredge, which is like perhaps my least favorite fishing experience ever, to my favorite fishing experience in a game, where would you put it on the spectrum?
I never played. This is a confession. I've never played the cat. I've only heard about it and looked it up because of you.
But
because you told me about it.
That means you never played a Super Sonic in Sonic Adventure, and that can't be right.
I never played Sonic Adventure.
What?
At least I don't think I did. And if I did, I didn't play far enough to get to where you were.
Dear Diary, today I learned that Jenny and I aren't even really friends.
Oh my god, no. Like, what did I play? The Sega or the Sonic I played was the one that was on Sega Genesis, like that brick of a handheld. And I played a Sonic on that one.
Game Gear?
Or Game Gear, yes. Yeah.
Okay, well,
yeah.
We're after this, I know you're on a trip. I'm going to record a whole podcast of me giving you a scene-by-scene playthrough of Sonic Adventure so that you have something to listen to on the way back. So
okay, perfect. I look forward to it.
Put it on your gravestone. The opening act, Sonic is running island to island. A giant whale appears and destroys a bridge behind him.
I love that you have the first cutscene already.
I've played that scene so many times, like literal thousands of times, I would bet.
That's incredible. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that is the pastry case. Again, if you would like to get links to everything that we've talked about, subscribe to the newsletter at geeksandgrounds.com. That's also where you can find us, find our Discord, and find the playthrough guides for all of the games that we play that we're playing this month, as well as previous game guides. So if you want to go into the backlog, see what's up, you can do that too. So,
I gotta say, I love that. I've been getting some comments from folks that are replaying 1,000 Times Resist and seeing kind of the comment reigniting there. It's so fun getting to relive this through people's eyes. So definitely do check out the chats that we have set up.
Yes. All right. So this month's brew, I am super stoked because we have never done this before, kind of a back-to-back first and second game in series, if you have to, in this duology. In our month of one shots, we started with Butterfly Soup last week. This week is Butterfly Soup 2, and just a preview for next week, we're doing Extreme Meat Punks Forever, which is a game about fighting fascism, so it's very timely. And then we're ending with Serre, which is back into a bit more of a charming romantic kind of a rom-com vibe, more just like a sweet romantic visual novel. We'll start this week with a high-level summary of the game, some non-spoiler thoughts, since we are doing this as an all-encompassing one episode. Normally we go by sort of chronological order and don't spoil anything that we've not covered, but since this is a full game in one episode, we're going to just have a non-spoiler section and a deep dive section. So, Joel, did you want to give like a high-level summary of the game, just like in general, what it's about?
I love giving high-level summaries of games.
I know, you're very good at it too.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so following up on Butterfly Soup 1, where we met 4 friends, Min, Arkasha, Dia, and Noelle, we followed in the first game the love story of Min and Dia as they had this big will they won't they experience, and we watched this friend group come together in this kind of beautiful queer romance between these young people coming to fruition. We're now having our sequel. This one is going to center on Arkasha and Noelle as kind of the driving potential perspective romance, or like the driving point of interest. But this game is going to go a little bit deeper into some real like hard-hitting issues. So you're still in high school, you're still getting flashbacks between these 4 girls as they were in, like, let's say 3rd through 5th grade as compared to where they are as 9th graders. But you get a lot more with parent relationships. You actually see the faces of parents in this game. You see cultural dynamics where you see like the immigration story of parents compared to a lot of their kind of first generation children. And one of the things that I thought was most powerful is you get a really compelling storyline about Noelle, who didn't get a lot of screen time in the first game, or maybe not as much screen time in the first game. We saw a lot more about her family experience and even their family's kind of immigration story, which I thought was one of the most powerful parts of this whole game. Naturally, you've got a lot of great, like, is 2008 video game references. You got online chats, which I thought were even better in this game than the first game. Lots of joy, lots of humor, but also some real tension between characters as they're kind of like learning for themselves what it means to kind of lean into their identities and how they fit within their communities. That's my best spoiler-free rendition of this game. That's a great summary. And I'm always learning and growing myself. And this time I've learned that I have yet again moved the R in Akarsha's name to the front syllable instead of the middle syllable where it is. So apologies, it is Akarsha. But we're going to get it right eventually. I'm committed to getting it correct. Yeah. Well, and I mean, kind of fitting, that's like one of the conversations or a type of conversations that's had in this game, which I think is really cool, is this idea of, hey, if you do something and a friend mentions it, that's okay. It's like what you do with it after is the important part. So such good scenes. We're learning from this game. Yeah. Before we head into the deep dive, I'd love to know any just non-spoiler thoughts, as we played this, maybe even comparing it a little bit to the first one. Sure. How did you feel overall playing this? Would you overall recommend it to folks before we get into the deep dive, all of that good stuff? I would absolutely recommend this game, really this whole series. I think in terms of like queer storytelling, just coming of age stories, this is one of the best games that I've ever played, series of games I've ever played. I will say in comparison to the first game, this was not as strong for me. Maybe that's because we played them back to back, but I think that's mostly because in the first game, it felt like there was more room to breathe. Like the story was very narrow. And so it took its time telling that story. This game feels a bit more broad. It hits a lot of really important issues, but not as deeply. And so at times that felt a little more heavy-handed to me than the first game. But I will say in terms of like watching this budding relationship, watching the characters' dialogue, and really seeing like the differences in parental dynamics, that felt stronger to me in this game. So that's how I felt kind of compared to the first one. How about you?
Very, very similar. I think there were moments in this game. I think Noelle's arc was probably the most emotionally impactful for me, and how deep it sort of went. There was some really cool conversations that Min had, I think, in Min's chapter. But overall, I agree where I felt like there were some moments that were really good, but the breadth meant it felt a little bit more like, okay, we're moving to the next thing, we're moving to the next thing.
Yep.
You know, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but especially compared to the first game, where the entire time that first game is a slow burn. Yep. You know, it's the buildup of the relationship. So I think they just had different narrative purposes even.
Yeah.
But yeah, both are incredible. Both are highly recommended. I'm still amazed at the fact that this was written, what was it, in 2018-ish? 2022 was Butterfly Soup 2. It feels still fresh and relevant and as honest and alive. Like the language, you know, at some point the language will feel more dated, you know, because it's so specific to the time, but at the same time it feels so real. I love both of these games so much. So yeah, highly recommend both of them.
Fully agreed.
So the structure that we went through, similar to the first one, where each person gets their own chapter. We start with Akarsha, we go to Dia, Min, and then Noelle.
I have made a decision, and that is that I would like to be adopted into Akarsha's family. I love the way that she engaged with her parents. She cracks me up. Like if she were my sister, I would feel like king of the mountain. I don't know. But you start off by like actually being in Akarsha's home. So you get to see, like, I was taking notes on like, what do you see around here?
Yeah.
Like guitar, a sword, an exercise, ball and treadmill next to the TV in the living room. Like it just felt very lived in. The garage felt like a real garage. And so like when you're watching the kids interacting and then you see the parents come home to get help unloading groceries, I just felt like I know this scene. I know this house. Like this feels comfortable, familiar. Like, I don't know. I just felt like a real place to me.
Yeah, I agree. I also took notes of how the house looked because I feel like this is the first time we've really explored other rooms of a house with the other people, the other teenagers. It was always either their room or maybe the foyer. And you don't really get much more than that. And so this feels like a house also that sort of Akarsha also feels safer in, and like walking around, you feel comfortable. You can go to the living room, you can go to the garage, whereas the other house felt much more constrained. You know, they may also be nice and have room, but really it sort of reflected how those teens felt in those different environments. So I thought that was really impactful. I loved that Akarsha, the other teens were talking about how, oh my God, your parents, are they going to go ballistic, you know, if we're all here or we're having a party, they're not home. And Akarsha says, my parents trust me. They just went to go pick up my brother. They'll be back. It's all fine. So a very different,
so different
dynamic than the other teens for sure. I also loved that I'll post the screenshot in the Discord, but the opening of this game is they've created a surprise party for Noelle because it's Noelle's birthday, and they're trying to bake a cake, and it's Akarsha and Min, who, if I were to pick two people to successfully bake a cake with nothing happening wrong, they would not be the two I would pair for that. So it's just a really fun scene when they're trying to bake the cake. And they end up decorating the top with, I think it's Noelle, birthday, yes. And then they have a line that Noelle, I think, says, this looks like a heart
monitor and then flatlining. Yeah.
And that cracked me up so hard. That was just so cute. Because, I mean, who hasn't decorated a cake and have it go a little bit wrong, where you just cannot fit the word in? You forgot a D in the happy birthday, you know? It's like, that's a classic, decorating a cake.
As a person who's notoriously terrible at baking, I very much felt seen by this scene. But, you know, as we're going through Akarsha's story, like, you're engaging with her acknowledging and deciding that she does in fact have feelings for Noelle, something that we were kind of hoping for at the end of the last game. So I'm immediately in. Like, I'm immediately in the world, cheering this on, very excited. And at the same time, you're getting these really cute moments from Dia and Min. Literally in this opening scene, you have a line that says, Min kisses Dia adoringly on the cheek. I was like, yes, thank you. This is the joy that I'm looking for in life. And at the same time, like, you go from like this party to like they're at school the next day, and you're getting still like the pranks between Akarsha and Noelle, and that like bit from the first game continuing.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But there's also true heartbreak, and we have to talk about this.
Yes.
You get to see chats from the kids, from the teens, and it's one of the best parts of these games. Mm-hmm. And basically Min has encouraged Akarsha to tell their crush, Min doesn't know who the crush is, that they should confess their feelings. So Akarsha, doing the thing that she always does and that Noelle explicitly calls her out for in the opening scene of the game, throws something out there with just a little conviction and then kind of immediately backtracks. So it says, like, in chat, I'm Akarsha, like, I have a crush on you, Noelle. Mm-hmm. Noelle's like, you're joking, right? And I was immediately
my heart. No.
I'm back in high school again. Like, this feeling of like, yeah, I was just kidding.
I know. I felt slightly rejected by that, honestly. Like, seeing that, I was devastated. I just
in the internal monologue from Akarsha after that, the like, why doesn't anyone want to kiss me? Like, oh my God, if that is not a 9th grade thought, like, that felt very real. Like, someone just plucked that out of a journal and was like, that's in the game now. I felt so, like, it felt very seen by this whole exchange.
Yeah, very much so. Like, I remember, so, like, I wasn't really allowed to date in high school, but also, like, I didn't, have boyfriends or anything like that. Like, I didn't have relationships, and I felt so insecure about that because all of my friends had people they were going steady with for a long time, or they were dating around, and that was just not part of my experience in high school.
Same.
And so seeing Akarsha feel very unwanted, even though she's so, like, again, it's like, who knows in high school kind of what factors necessarily go into that, because it could be also that anyone who likes you probably just doesn't have the courage to ask you out. It's like, high school is tough for everyone, so you not being in a relationship isn't indicative of people not loving you. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like that when you're in 9th grade. So that felt very hit close to home.
And the next day, oh God, we learned that there's been another prank plan, and Noelle has essentially paid the $20 for a bouquet to be delivered to Akarsha with like a secret admirer,
which they set up in the first game. And I was so sad because in my heart of hearts, I had a feeling that this was probably something that was set up not because Noelle actually was reciprocating, but because Noelle was doing this because of the plan that they created, that she created with like Min, I think, in the first game. And so the convergence of the confession and then the bouquet, I felt just, my heart was so sad.
And it's like, it's one of the things, like, we don't, as the audience, we have not heard directly from Noelle how she's feeling, right? So it's like, it's less of a will they, won't they, and more of a like, is Noelle actually into this? And like, I ship them. I really hope they are.
Yeah, no, and as I was playing, part of me wondered because we learn a little bit later, but also we kind of know that Noelle is very sheltered, and she doesn't have, I think, the language or even the experience, or what is it, sort of the exposure to necessarily put into words any, like, her feelings or some of the things that she sees and some of the things that are possible. So she doesn't know even if things are possible. so part of me was not confused, but curious if she is queer and doesn't know it, or if maybe, which this is under the umbrella of queer, but is she maybe ace? Because she has a lot of times where, especially when looking at images of men and women,
Yep.
or like sort of more just when talking about physical relationships, she tends to be a little bit disgusted by that, or at least talk as if she was disgusted by it. And so part of me wondered, is that maybe her upbringing just coming through, because that's how she's been taught to react and taught to talk about it? Or is she ace? I don't know. And so, this was a big question mark for me at this point, because I really wanted them to get together, but I just also really want Noelle to actually know what she wants.
That's right. Man, that is such an interesting conflict that you get with this story that, like, I don't think you feel in a lot of media. And it's certainly not a lot of, like, you know, romance stories. Is like having such a deep empathy for a character, especially like a young character, that you're like, hey, you know, I really want this relationship to happen because I think it's very cute and I think you two would be good together. But also, just as important, not more important, is that, like, this character figures something out about themselves as a part of this.
Yeah.
I don't know that many other media are able to, you know, convey that in the way a game can.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a tough thing to convey. So, I mean, it's impressive that this is happening in this game.
And, you know, I think maybe kind of moving to our next big chapter to Dia, we get our flashback to 3rd grade. Like, this is actually a really interesting point, like segue, because you get to see the scene that we heard about in the first game, where Dia is told not to spend time with men. And essentially what's happened is Dia's gotten picked up after school by her mom, whose face we see. And her mom sees men, learns that men is a girl, according to Dia at the time, and says, she's a freak. It's just how she looks. You don't understand yet. You're normal, so you can't be around her. Like, some of the most, like, aggressively ignorant, homophobic things that especially a parent could say to a child.
Yeah, just any adult saying that about any child. I mean, any person saying about any person, but especially a child. Like, that's just that hurt to read, to be very honest.
It's the whole thing where it's like hate is learned, and like, this is exactly how that learning happens.
And we see, even through this, though, I think the complexity of having a relationship with people who may have, like, homophobic beliefs, for example. Like, Dia talks about, you know, I have these struggles with what my mom believes, but I want to have a relationship with her. I want to be able to talk with her about things. I want her to connect with me, and I want to connect with her. And there's just this gap in communication and inability to get to the same playing field, even in terms of how they're having a conversation. So that is the continuous roadblock we see with Dia and her mom. On top of that, though, and we flash back to the present, Dia's got a presentation that she's working on with, I think, what was it, Min, Akarsha and Noelle. Group projects are always so fun. And we learn Dia has a lot of difficulty speaking in public, which is interesting, because I don't think I thought about that with Dia, because she is so comfortable with her friends. I think shy, maybe, but the extent the anxiety really came through with this presentation showed me that it was more than I thought.
Oh, interesting.
Originally. Yeah.
So I don't know that I read it quite the same way. Like, in the first game, when she, like, runs away at the baseball field, I think that's when I realized, like, okay, we've as she's gotten older, we have moved from I'm scared to ask a person about petting their dog in the ballpark to, oh, this is like a serious form of anxiety, and like something is going on here. So I felt like this was like a very nice payoff, is maybe the wrong word, but like continuation of that experience. You know, we're just because, you know, with time and everything, we're going to kind of speed through some of the conversation here, but like a few things that stood out to me about this. Like, one, we learned in this game that Dia is perhaps deaf, or in like can't hear out of one of her ears. So we get like a official confirmation that there is like a medical thing happening in one ear specifically. We also get what I thought was an awesome moment later on where we get a repeat of the "Can I pet your dog" scene with the girls or with Dia and Min in the park, and they go find a person, has a dog, and Min gives Dia the space to work up the courage to ask to pet the dog. And it felt like a growth moment for Min. It felt like a growth moment for Dia. It was like such a subtle way to hit on that story. And again, like we played these games back to back, but you know, for people who waited for, you know, years between this, like I felt like I wonder what the payoff experience was, if it was as obvious what you were experiencing there, but I loved that.
Yeah, I thought that was a really great moment. There's a line in the first chapter with Akarsha where Akarsha mentions Min has really chilled out since starting to date Dia, and so this is just another reflection of that, how they really balance each other, and just another way that once you really find people who accept you for who you are, you start to feel more comfortable with who you are, you really can become a better version of yourself. And I think this is a reflection of that. Min also just dropped some really good lines, talking about or maybe this is, I don't know if this is maybe Akarsha. I feel like Min usually drops the good lines, so this may be Min, maybe Akarsha, but talking to Dia, someone talks about how it's not your job to educate and it's not your job to speak up about something if it's going to ruin your life or if it's going to be harmful for you. And so I think I appreciate that this game acknowledges sometimes especially in the West, the idea of coming out or having this big moment where you're out to your family, it's like a really significant, and I think people see it as the pinnacle, but at the same time, that's gonna look different for different people, and the timing is going to be different for different people, and across cultures, I think it's going to be a little bit different. And so I think I appreciate that this is another way that journey is a bit more nuanced for each of the characters in this series.
Yeah, I think it's Akarsha talking to Dia who drops that, because it's like Dia, like we see in the present tense that Dia's mom has not grown, like still says this kind of homophobic stuff, like says some racist stuff in the flashback scene as well. So like, or no, actually in the present scene in the car, and Akarsha has this line about like, it's not your responsibility to educate your parents if it's going to ruin your life. Like that was just like, oof, man, like it's one thing to have stories that are hitting on like, I'd like to shave my legs and my mom is giving me a hard time about that. It's another thing to hit on like parental expectations for the type of person you're allowed to be with. And then it's another thing to deal with like your own identity and like grappling with that at the same time with like grappling with how you bring it up to people who have explicitly telegraphed to you that they would not be accepting. And I felt like this chapter really threaded how all those things are connected.
Yeah, it's really, because that's real life, right? You are balancing sort of the different layers of tension, especially as a teen. You have your, like you said, shaving your legs, that's like one layer. And I remember, oh man, that conversation was one that I had with my mom. My mom did not want me to shave my legs. She said it was inappropriate. She said then my hair would grow back thicker. Like all of this stuff that Dia's mom said, my mom said. And so, yeah, that was another thing. Like I wasn't allowed to shave. Well, I started shaving in high school because I was on the cheerleading team and we were wearing like short skirts. And I was like, I cannot do this. And so I just did it. And my mom found out and she got really mad. And then she stopped fighting me on it because I had just done it. But yeah, it's incredible to see the mundane sort of fights coupled with the more almost existential ones in this layer. It's just so good.
That is a... So we move to Min, and we get fourth grade Min in Florida, and it opens with a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, this is rough.
Would you care to characterize this one?
Yes. So we begin in a field trip situation. Min is vocalizing something that we had experienced in the first game, where Min had a conversation with a friend who was talking about how the rest of America is more white, and the exception was the school that they were in as an elementary because it's more Asian. And basically Min and her brother are seeing that in real time. Their school is predominantly white. The teacher doesn't know or try to pronounce their names correctly. Oh my God. When she said she wanted to call Jun John,
I was furious.
I saw flames. I was so upset.
Flames on the side of my face.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. As a side note, any teacher that does that should just, I feel like, should not be a teacher. If you can't get a kid's name right, you don't deserve to teach.
Yes.
That's just willfully just so bad. And Min, in trying to stick up for her brother and also for herself, because the kids start saying really racist things to them, punches a kid, shoves him in the water, and this causes them to basically get sent home. Min's father picks them up and he is furious. He is enraged. And we already know that he is a pretty volatile person. And in the drive home, he is speeding. He's barely, missing getting into crashes. At the same time, yelling at his children, talking about how it's their fault that he is angry, that they should just behave, and that he has gone through so much struggle and he's sucked it up and he's done what he needed to find success. Why can't they do the same?
This is such a powerful scene, and gives us it was all of this was telegraphed, like what was going on in the first game for like what inspires some of Min's kind of behaviors. We knew that there was a physically violent home that they were living in. And what we see in this chapter, so the rest of this scene is the teens go to a park because they're going to record a video about hunting wildlife to help with a class project. And in this chapter, you get to see how some of these seeds that are planted as like a fifth grader kind of come home to roost, or you reap them as you move forward, where Min says something that is, racially ignorant and sensitive towards one of the other players. The player calls Min out on it, and Min gets immediately defensive. And the grappling that we see from Min in this chapter, I thought was phenomenal from a story. It was rushed, but I will say phenomenal from like, if you only have so much time, storytelling, great. You get Min learning from Dia about like, hey, a strength of yours, Min, is that you're curious about these other cultures and you're willing to like learn about them. And so when you said this thing, like maybe it was coming from a place of curiosity, but it did not have that impact on the person you're talking to. Later, you get to see, hey, this thing that you're doing, Min, where you kind of lash out at a person because in this case, you felt like you had to put up with microaggressions growing up. And so maybe you have this higher threshold that you're willing to tolerate. Doesn't mean other people should have to. And realizing, oh, that's the same thing that Min's dad was doing, where he was experiencing this racism and stuff at work, and then he was funneling his anger and aggression towards his family at home. And like the full circle moment that Min has with that, I thought was like, it's not complete. Like, it's not like Min apologizes and everything's good. It's more of a, you can see that Min has the tools now to begin the journey of learning and unlearning that we all need to continually be doing.
Yeah. And I think that's even called out, Min even has a moment where she goes and apologizes, I think to Esther is the character, and Min talks about how, oh, I've apologized. So we good essentially. And Esther's like, no, this is step number one.
Yeah.
Welcome to the journey. And I wanted to call out Min. Right before this happens, Min talks about not wanting to have kids because they're worried about unwittingly passing down this baggage and this trauma that they have from their family to another generation. And to have that be a worry, and then to see all of this learning happen throughout that chapter, I thought, like, this section of the game could have been its own Butterfly Soup 3. You know what I mean?
This is exactly my thought. This could have been Butterfly Soup 2. Like, just this park thing could have been like all 4 chapters.
Yeah. It's really incredible. Again, I wish we had more time to work with this stuff, but considering the format and the intention and scope of the game, I thought this was incredible that they fit this conversation and this topic in.
Yes. It's also like coming back to like the central kind of partnering that we're hoping happens here. This is where we see explicitly just how little Noelle has been exposed to any sort of like queerness practicalities, and you learn that it really is the practicalities and logistics that are the number one thing. It's like, yeah, I have feelings, but like feelings are not the thing that drive me. It's like the logistics that are driving me. And so it's like, well, lesbians can't have sex, like these types of like things that like Noelle just doesn't know about. And so I don't let myself feel that, because there's like there's no functional way for that to happen. And I very much like relate to that side of Noelle.
Well, and I think it also, a note that I put down was how from this chapter, and then I guess it's a good transition into Noelle's section, because she after going to her Chinese class, she is at home and she ends up Googling a little bit more about homosexuality and just like putting in these words that she doesn't really know and she's trying to learn more about. And I think this access, not just to friends who can be good sources but unreliable and maybe not as knowledgeable as they think, but having the internet, which also isn't always the best source, but still it's a source when you don't have your parents talking with you about stuff. And so seeing the fact that they have the internet available to be able to explore their identities. They talk about the advent of YouTube in this game. They talk about deviant art. They talk about like fanfic and webtoons. And so I think what is really cool was in this game in particular, it shows that the creation of identity now for kids is not simply through their community or their parents and family. It's through what they can access on the internet, like for better or worse, right? But in this case, it is for the better because they're seeing the possibilities that their parents aren't letting them see.
Speaking of, just like a quick shout out that, we see the teens learning about like the idea of being gender queer and as part of Min's story, and Min uses the phrase gender outlaw. And I was like,
I thought that was so cool.
That is a great word. Oh man.
Yeah, that was incredible.
So we go to this next chapter and we see Noelle in like 5th grade, the Chinese school, but like the thrust of Noelle's chapter is that her grandmother has passed away in Taiwan, and she and her family are going to go back and be there. And so the characterization in this chapter, Butterfly Soup 3, again, the entire game could be this, like dealing with the idea of identity, like questioning why her parents took her to America if they didn't want to have an American kid. Like I mean, as a person who's not part of any of this like cultural identity, I was watching this, just my heart breaking. I would love to know what your experience was with this part of the game.
Ooh, so I played Butterfly Soup a while back, but I've never gotten the chance to play Butterfly Soup 2. So I did not know, what this chapter would entail. And my God, this really embodied a lot of like, as a daughter of an immigrant, technically, I guess, first generation, it embodies a lot of the questions that sometimes that I'll have, especially when going to Korea and not being able to fully communicate, being able to only speak in kind of stilted, maybe elementary, middle school kind of level Korean, being able to read, but not necessarily like communicate the nuances of my feelings, like things like the practical elements of not being connected to your culture through language, I think was really well done. There was a line I wrote down because this is something that just really hit for me. I think Noelle is the one who said this. If you have a distant relationship with your parents, your identity becomes a nebulous cloud, particularly if you're an immigrant, because the only connection you have to that ethnic culture, sort of that home heritage, is your parent. And if you don't have access to that and they aren't giving you the access to that, you are inherently just disconnected from a part of you. And how do you deal with that? And you can go to these classes. She's gone to Chinese school since she was a kid, but it's not the same as living. And I think what really I came away with the idea from, or what from this chapter I came up with, was what is, this formation of a new normal, this formation of a new version of your identity is something that I think is really important, where you see in Venba as well, the idea of diaspora and what does it mean to create a new definition of what it means to be, Indian or Chinese or Taiwanese or Korean. What does it mean to do that in a different location? Because you can't compare yourself to, the original, because it's not the same. So
I was just so blown away by this for many reasons, like the reality of like what it's like communicating with cousins, and the line about like, why is it my responsibility for the language barrier when you chose to move here? And then the practicalities of like, I just need to be able to read the sign, and like, no matter how hard I try, like I can't read it fast enough to know what my exit is. Like the practicalities of it were so real. Like it immediately made me build tremendous empathy for Noelle's parents, who after the first game, I was like, I could never have empathy, no empathy zone. But like when you learn about like Noelle's mom used to write this poetry that is stunning. And then you see like when they get back to the States and they have to like get off the train and stop early, and the mom like acknowledges like, well, I can't drive because we'd have to get gas, and I'm a woman and I can't get gas by myself, or I wouldn't know when the right train is coming for me to get back on. Like I couldn't help but feel this like deep connection for like the lack of safety, at least the mother is feeling in this, and like how that inspires being so protective. And something that had never really hit me before is like that lack of safety informing the tight guardrails that she puts on Noelle's life growing up. And Noelle's reflection that if she had grown up in Taiwan, she would have had a much more like free childhood like her cousins have. Wow. Like that was incredible. Like an incredible moment for me to like get to like see that part of a story.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, what really hit me also was the line, and this is the poem that the mom wrote, with the line of the flower in the mirror or the moon in the water, where it's like you're trying to grasp at this thing that you cannot get. So that was another line that really hit. I think, I had another thought about Noelle. I lost it, but yeah, this chapter was just incredible. I also thought a little bit about, it's not a one-to-one, but especially coming off of Butterfly Soup 1, where we're like, oh my God, these parents are horrible, the worst people ever. We do humanize them quite a bit. We understand their struggles. But I thought a lot about Principal from 1,000 Times Resist, and how Principal also does, like, similarly does these really horrible things that traumatize the rest of the sisters, things that you cannot and you don't have to, and you shouldn't feel obligated to forgive. But the idea of understanding like what informs their decision making and their trauma, so that you don't carry it forward towards like the next generation or even within yourself. I think that connection for me with Noelle's chapter was huge. So I actually wrote down, I thought about Principal with this chapter.
Yeah. Oh boy. And I'll also say, like, in moments of like, for the cuteness side of things, we get a baseball game, which I cared zero about, but in that baseball game, you see the very real emotional care that Noelle has for Akarsha in that scene. And then we end this game before the epilogue with the Multicultural Week convocation, and they do this big dance. And during the dance, Noelle whispers, "I have feelings for you," to Akarsha, and Akarsha's like, "What?" Which so I was like, cute. We don't get the same like big cathartic, like they're together now moment that we had, but I love this. I thought it was so real for these characters.
I thought it was perfect for them because I think the difference between Dia and Min is that they've been slow burning this relationship for actual like decade.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing this since elementary school. They've had that connection for so long. Their relationship made sense in how it came together. And I think if it was the same with these two, it wouldn't have felt
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And so I think these two, because they're a much newer relationship, they only relatively recently have been close friends and only recently really discovered this about themselves in terms of having crushes for each other. The awkward confession and timing of everything is just perfect.
Speaking of perfect, we have to discuss the epilogue of this game.
Yes.
After the credits roll, which are cool because you get to see like the real life convocation of like this multicultural league convocation. Is very fun.
I think it's the Bhangra dance.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
You get a scene flashing to like, I guess today, where a grown-up Noelle and grown-up Akarsha are trying to get to Home Depot so that they can cut the handcuffs off of Akarsha. A little bit of kink play in here, which we love.
Love it.
And the like dynamic of the two of them as they can't figure out a way to like get these handcuffs off because they lost the key.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, what a fantastic way to wrap this story.
Oh, it made me so happy. Because I think what made me really happy, other than them being together, which is obviously we all wanted it, we all knew it'd probably happen, 10 out of 10, did not disappoint. But it's this idea of Akarsha bringing that playfulness, and that Noelle is like meeting Akarsha there and not being maybe as rigid, that Noelle has learned and started experimenting and exploring different ways of just expressing herself. I think it meant a lot to see that and to see them being playful together. I love this game so much.
And like it's awesome like getting to see a coming of age story with queerness at the center. Like I feel like with like the Heartstopper series and things, like we're seeing more of that in media. But we talked about this with Queer Man Staring at the Rock Pool game. Like adult queer relationships don't often get much airtime, and like it's something that we got a lot here, but just like knowing that there is something here, I thought was a very nice like nod to the audience.
So that is Butterfly Soup 2. We did go pretty quickly through it again because we have flights and things to head to, so sorry for the bit of rush. There are a lot more details that we could dig deeper in, but we are going to save that for the hangout. Good excuse.
Hey, absolutely.
We'll say it was all intentional. Again, next week we're going with Extreme Meat Punks Forever. This is very different tonally. This is if you are feeling frustrated, angry, wanting to fight fascism, this is probably a game that'll feel a little bit closer to what you're feeling than maybe Butterfly Soup and Butterfly Soup 2. And so go to geeksandgrounds.com, check out the playthrough guide. There's like a collection. If you scroll, you'll see the title, and you can click on the title and it'll get you there. Trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's it.
Thanks as always for joining us here at Geeks and Grounds. It's a pleasure to get to discuss games like this with all of you and hear about your thoughts and experiences. What did you find cute? What did you find annoying or funny? Let us know in the comments as always. As you are exploring the world and those around you, just make sure you always have an extra set of keys to your handcuffs. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.